Hi, welcome to Fox Valley Today. I'm Barb Nadeau, as you know, and today we have some new people on our show who I don't think have ever been my guests today before, and so today I'm happy to have Rob Greider and Nate DeMont. They are here as volunteers for the new organization I Speak for the Trees. And gentlemen, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here with you today, Barb.
It's exciting to have you too, Rob, and Nate. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
This is exciting on a lot of different levels because I love trees.
Yes, good.
I love.
So I don't have to sell you on it.
No, you don't have to sell me on trees, but I've been just fascinated and interested, just intrigued by this new organization, I Speak for the Trees. Mm-hmm. And our good friend Jen Slapika has been very instrumental in getting this started. So I was hoping, Rob, that maybe you could start us off with the story.
It was Jen's brainchild here. The city of Yorkville has lost about over 1,500 trees. I want to say it's about 1,600 trees, several hundred to the Route 47 widening project, and even more to the emerald ash borer, which has been affecting all the communities in our area. And where some of our area municipalities have a plan for replacing those trees when they come down for disease or whatever, Yorkville they only have so many trees a year they can put in the ground, and it's not nearing the 1,500 number that we need.
Oh, you know, when I talk to you, and listen to you, the stories, the questions, the story's much bigger than this, and the questions are just popping into my head.
Good.
It's interesting because this is like a multi-layered problem. First of all, you've got the emerald ash borer, which we've heard a lot about.
Yes.
And of course, the borer itself is invasive to the ash tree. Mm-hmm. But there's an awful lot of ash trees, over 900 ash trees that had to come down because of it.
That's exactly right. And a lot of that is from back in the day when, and we had just had the conversation, what was the previous tree, Dutch elm disease. Mm-hmm. Dutch elm disease was a big problem in our area, 40 years ago or so. And when they took out Dutch elm trees, they replaced most of them with ash trees. Well, now we have this ash borer problem, and so we're losing our ash trees. And Plano recently adopted an ordinance, a tree ordinance, where part of their plan moving forward is to guarantee a genetic diversity. So, no more than 30% of trees in any one area can be the same species, no more than 10% the same.
So
whatever.
Some of the communities, for Plano, for example, are looking at it and making sure that they have a mixture of trees.
That's right. Yeah, moving forward.
And they will, if they lose a tree to a disease or some other issue, they won't lose all their trees.
Right. Yeah, the impact will be minimized dramatically.
How did you? Let me stop here for a second before we go too much farther. How did you both get involved in this new organization, I Speak for the Trees? What is it that's driving you to be part of this movement? And to be here today,
Sure.
Nate?
Well, besides having friends that are involved in this movement to save the trees, myself, when I heard about it, I'm actually a woodworker. I build guitars. And what I do locally is I use local woods for guitars. And part of the big issue that strikes, right in my direction is that the two main woods for guitars locally are maple and ash. And when we start losing our trees, I lose my local resources for that. That's a sustainable resource. It should be, but if you lose everything at once, you kind of missing chunks of time where you just don't have any trees.
I never considered that as part of the problem, that there's an economic component to to industry. Forget beautification and people wanting to go into Yorkville, because we're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
It's still a viable natural resource that people sometimes overlook. And it directly affects some local companies.
Yeah, and of course you are, as a woodworker, you're doing the finishing. You're doing a piece of art, a guitar, a finished product. So you don't even have access to any of the ash that has been chopped down.
No, that's the thing. Once it's chopped down, it's disposed of because it's considered dangerous. They don't want the ash borer or whatever disease might be affecting the tree to get out. So it's usually disposed of right away. So it's not like that resource is still there and we just had to use it quick. We just don't have it at all. And trees are good to use, but you don't want to lose them. We want to keep them going, keep them growing, and keep being able to use them. They're part of nature, part of what's in the world for us to use.
Mm-hmm. How did you get? What was it that spurred you on, Rob? How did you get involved?
Working with Jen, we had done the Stars of Hope Sky Lantern Festival last September in Yorkville. It was a huge success, and she came to me and said, Yorkville needs us again here. And she caught me up on the details of all the trees that we were losing, and I felt like this is definitely something I wanted to be involved in. Especially where government doesn't step up with a plan or with any tools to fix something. I think it's kind of incumbent on those of us who see a problem to address it. So I just want to be proactive.
This is very interesting. So we've got over 900 trees that had to be taken down, and this is something that came through the state of Illinois. This is something that's been going county by county. Yorkville had to respond and had to eliminate the ash trees.
Correct.
It was kind of something that was mandated down to them,
right?
Whether they wanted to do it or not.
Right.
But the other 700 some trees were taken down
for infrastructure improvement.
Because of IDOT's project to finally do something with Route 47, which
right.
we're all anxious to see completed,
yes.
And we all want to drive on nice, smooth pavement and have those lanes.
Yeah, right. Well, and it would be nice to have tree-lined streets, too. I mean,
it could be just a lot of asphalt.
Yeah, it could be just a lot of asphalt and concrete, and we want to make sure that that's not the case, that we retain some of this small-town charm of Yorkville.
It's interesting that the city has not looked at this before when they realized that those 700 trees were going down. I mean, I can understand they're two different issues and maybe coming out of two different departments, I know that every person on the council, every person that works with the city has their own focus in their job, and it may be from two different directions that they're looking at the loss of trees. Those people who are working on the infrastructure don't really worry about those 700.
Yeah.
Those people who care about trees or care about the natural aspect might know about the 900, but 1,600 trees.
Yeah, well, 1,600
They had
trees.
not looked at a plan to do anything about the trees?
It's my understanding that I'm sure there's been ideas bandied about and that there have been conversations had. I know a number of Yorkville officials, and I would assume they're all responsible enough to see, the writing on the wall as far as all these trees that we're losing, but nobody had jumped forward with a plan yet to take care of.
You were saying, Rob, that they do have a replacement project for trees. How many trees do they normally think that they can plant in a year?
I don't recall the specific number. It was less than 100, I want to say, right? Yeah, about so a few dozen trees is all the city. Every year they know
and
ahead of time.
And that's something that they know just out of natural causes that so many trees will go down.
And usually they're not. They don't have these big issues. And one big issue is bad enough. Just if we had the ash borer beetle destroying all the trees, it would take some time to recover from that. But it's kind of like a double whammy there with the ash borer beetle and all the infrastructure improvements. It just kind of hit it once, and then you kind of lose everything.
So
and it's kind of an oversight, I think, more or less. Kind of a combination of two things at once plus an oversight.
That's true. And I think some of the original project, the plan for the Route 47 widening, featured, it had quite a budget for beautification. And I think a lot of that originally was going to go for the replacement of trees. And I can't remember exactly why, but for some reason the beautification budget had to be reduced so that the infrastructure project would go along with minimal impact on businesses and whatnot. It's been a hairy mess down there. We've been talking about it in Yorkville for the last 12 years at least, this widening project, and here we are now going forward with it. And when rubber hit the road, nobody had thought about the trees that we're missing out on. So
The city of Yorkville has really had some challenges. First of all, I think that for a long time they were handicapped by the fact that Route 47 needed to be widened. Mm-hmm. We had the recession that we've all been living under, the economic conditions that have not allowed for much wiggle room as far as money goes.
Absolutely.
And then to have major impacts like the Route 47 project being much more cumbersome than anybody ever thought.
Yeah.
You know, that and everything else. I can imagine it's very difficult for a city to budget for something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And so that's our goal here, is that all the money that we're raising is going for the purchase of trees. We don't have administrative costs. We don't have overhead. You know, we don't have a brick and mortar location. We don't have a phone line. We have a website that was donated by Jen, you know, who started the whole thing. And we've got tip jars out in businesses, you know, and we've worked with a couple of them to like have donations matched and whatnot. And it really is a grassroots thing, all geared towards buying the trees.
This is really intriguing because this is, you know, the other half of the story, how people get involved, why they get involved, and what they're actually doing to make the citizens of Yorkville aware of the need for trees. We're talking about I Speak for the Trees. You can find more information at ispeakforthetrees.org. Jen Slapika, our in-studio audience today and guest, here is the main coordinator of this, and Rob Greider and Nate DeMont, two volunteers with the project. I want to talk a lot about how you're doing what you're doing and what your goal is. Let's take a real quick commercial break and we'll come back with that right after this.
Ever wonder what makes us, the Smurfs, so happy? The forest, of course! This is where we, along with the beautiful forest creatures, make our home with beautiful plant life, clean water, and endless adventures. It's a place to celebrate. So discover the forest with your family today. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
The feeling of accomplishment that drives me. And there's no better challenge than serving part-time in the Coast Guard Reserve. I protect my country, work with the best and brightest, I get great pay and benefits in return. The Coast Guard Reserve is important work. I get to serve my community, and it's always rewarding.
If you were born ready, there's a new challenge waiting for you. Learn about serving part-time at gocoastguard.com/reserve.
For many in Kenya, Africa, water is a scarce commodity. Families are at the mercy of rainfall to collect water for drinking, bathing, and cooking. And the rains come only a few times a year. But thanks to Child Fund International, river water is now being channeled to collection points where it's cleaned and made easily available at a series of pump stations. Child Fund International, disrupting poverty.
Explore new worlds. Read. Visit literacy.gov and let the journey begin.
Welcome back. We're talking about the importance of trees with Nate DeMont and Rob Greider here representing I Speak for the Trees. It's a new grassroots effort, tree root effort to bring trees back to the city of Yorkville. And I'm really intrigued by this story, Nate and Rob. And one of the things that really struck me was you're also on Facebook. We should tell everybody that. You can find them at ispeakforthetrees.org, or you can look them up on Facebook.